So, good morning everyone. It's race day here in Ireland, Saturday morning. So good luck to everybody racing, first of all. This is just a little video about just my thoughts on racing the longer distances in Ireland and why I do it. You know, I grew up with pigeons here. We always think about Irish racing as the fact that you keep your birds going down the land, you get them experienced on the land, and then you shift them to the water. Certainly when I was growing up 30 years ago, 25 years ago, that's exactly what we did. My father still does that, pushes them down the land for experience more than to win, and then on the channel he tries to really aims for the channel racing here. Talbot, Penzance, Bude if it's Bude, and France when he has boards for it. And I was just having a conversation with him yesterday, and I was also having a conversation with another fancier yesterday about the best way to go about trying to get into the international scene, which is what I'm at, and still want to race up the land and on the channel here in Ireland. And really, initially for me, because I've done this and I know this, I had to stop racing the channel in Ireland. And if I was racing the channel, I had to only send one or two this year. I sent one to St. Malo this year, but I didn't send any to Talbot, Bude or Penzance. And there's a reason for this. Racing the channel into Ireland is very, very difficult under any circumstances. That's even in the best of situations, it's hard. Our returns are, in most cases, less than 50%. But this year has been crazy, like staggering losses this year. It has been hard, on fanciers. And that's mostly attributed to the heat this year, actually. It's been a very, very hot channel season here for those weeks of racing. So where do you go and what kind of decisions do you make? Because a lot of fanciers out there in Ireland are contacting me and asking me and saying, we'd love to have a go at it in years to come or what have you. But in years to come, they're saying they want to be clocking out France regularly first before they step onto the bigger scene or the longer scene, if you call it that, the international scene. And for me, they don't mix. They just don't. And I'll tell you why. And an example is, the chap I was talking to yesterday, my own father is cleaned out this year. He had 2, 3 and 4 year olds in a handful of each now. I mean, he didn't have a lot. 1 4-year-old, I think he said he still left. He's no 2 or 3 year olds now, and he's only yearlings left. He's actually no yearlings left, or he's 2 yearlings, sorry. Out of, I think he started with a team of 50 this year. So he's cleaned out, gone. The other chap is pretty much similar. So I had a conversation with the other chap and I asked him how many boards he bred in 2015, 16 and 2017. And 40 was the answer of each year. Now we'll just say that's conservative, probably a few more, but we'll just say 40 for purposes. And I asked him how many he started off with this year. How many yearlings, how many 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, or yearlings, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds he started with this year. So 2017 boards start with approximately 20 this year. So it's 50% losses last year. 2016 he said he had, if I'm not mistaken, he had 3. And 2016 he had 1. 2015 he had 1. So we had 20 yearlings, 3 2-year-olds, or 4 2-year-olds even, and 1 3-year-old. Okay, so out of 120 boards bred in the last 3 years, he's now got none left. Now we said, due to his own fault, he raced them out for his own circumstances. That's his own bag. I did the same last year. I took all of my 2016 yearlings, I raced them all up the land. I'm trying to get into this international scene, and I made a decision that all of my yearlings had to fly over 350 miles. For me, that means putting them into France. So I raced out my team of yearlings. The last 9 that were left, I sent a handful to Bude Penzance, or Talbot Penzance. And the last 9 that were left, I sent to St. Malo. And as we know, the 2017 St. Malo was an absolute debacle. They just started us 9 or 12 pigeons home and race time in the Milligan Cup, something like that. Anyway, it was an absolute sham. It was a disgrace. Now, for me, if 20% or 20% of the boards or even 15% of the boards I make it at home, I'll always blame me. I'm doing something wrong. For example, this year, I was quite happy with the way the boards performed. My yearlings, predominantly, I mean a few 2-year-olds, how they performed. So that was good. I didn't clock out Poitiers, and I didn't clock out Le Mans. And for me, it's not the boards at the moment, because the boards have the lineage. We have the water that they've probably never encountered. Actually, they've never encountered. And I will always look at myself first. So my personal changes for next year are the feeding system. So my feeding system has to change for next year, and my feeding system is going to go more old school. So I'll always look at myself first before I blame the boards, okay? Specifically because people I'm giving my boards to are getting them out of the water. So as far as I'm concerned, it's on me, okay? So back to racing. So I know for a fact, if you look around Dublin especially, because that's where I'm based, you will find lads that maybe have a handful of 2-year-olds. And when I say a handful, I mean not more than 10. Okay? And you'll find 3-year-olds in Dublin, pigeons. I would say if anybody had more than 5, I'd be very surprised. As for 4-year-olds racing in Dublin, it's just unheard of. It's a rare thing. And it really is that one pigeon. Somebody's not just done France once or twice. Okay, so that's where we're at. Okay? So for me to compete in the international scene, I had to make a decision last year how I was going to move forward. We know Talbany and Penzance are peninsulas in the UK. The lads in Cornwall down where Penzance is have told us time and again the boards are just going inland through a corridor of birds of prey. So they're just getting decimated, and they're getting shocked and wiped out before they even get a chance to race home. So that's one of the reasons I don't race Penzance. Talbany is something similar. Okay? Talbany is only short hop to me, it's only 130 miles. So where do you go? So I made a decision last year after I lost my last 9 yearlings in St Malo that I wasn't going to send boards to South Road Fair Channel Racing as a rule. I'd still send a handful, I'd still send a few, but as a rule I wasn't going there because I wanted to hold the boards to get them to the maturity where I can actually have a go at them at these longer races. So with that in mind, this year, 2018, I started with something like 55 or 60 boards. 55 or 60 boards. And I've still got, out of the race boards, the boards that raced, there's, I think there's 24, 25. So 4 of them are 2-year-olds, or 6 of them are 2-year-olds, 23, 20, 20. I made a decision I wanted 20 yearlings, so 23 or so, 22 yearlings are still there. And added to those yearlings, I had 8 yearlings in the stock loft for breeding purposes this year, and I've already started to remove them. I think there's 1 left in there. Okay, that's actually plus 1. There's 2 left in there. There's 2 left in there, okay? So those 2 will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. One is finishing off around the young birds, and the other has a pair of eggs that I want to float. So they'll be getting floated, and they'll be just put in the young bird, in the section with the rest of the boards that you've seen there the other day, the 5 sections that are mixed. And they'll all just fly out, so they'll get flying fit again, and they'll be good for racing next year. So the yearlings I take out of stock loft that are in there for the year, they don't get pushed too hard. They'll probably just get land racing next year, just to bring them on with a bit of experience. The 2-year-olds and those 3-year-olds, I'll expect them either to fly Poitiers or fly an international. So I held back half of my race team as yearlings this year, so I would have a mature team next year. Okay, so I have, again, 6 2-year-olds, and I think because of the way things worked out, I've almost 30 yearlings become 3-year-olds. 2-year-olds become 3-year-olds, yearlings become 2-year-olds. Okay, so now I have a race team of 30-odds to start next year to really have a go at bigger numbers. You know, to send a team rather than send an odd few. Like this year I sent 10 to Poitiers and I sent 5 to Le Mans. But my plan next year is to send nearly 20 to each. That's the plan. So I'm going to have to see how that goes. That's the plan. I'll set the plan in motion, and I'll have 24 as well for the other internationals. Barcelona. I think I'm going to go for Age and Paw. Now I have a decision whether I can split the boards, or I can just send them all to one race. Or I can hold the boards. Have a go at Barcelona with up to 10 boards and hold the other boards to become more mature, to have a bigger team for Barcelona and do the internationals the following year. That's a decision I'll make next year. I'll see how the boards are, but I'm going to set boards up in this manner. And the reason for that is because if I race them in Ireland the way we race traditionally, they have to fly Butte, they have to fly Penzance, they have to fly Talbot, they have to fly France before we push them on forward. I'll have none left. The same as you lads out there who are talking and saying you'd love to have a go with it. You can have a go with it, but the thing is you have to be patient. You have to let your boards mature first. Now when I get a mature team, to say I'm not going to go back racing younger boards and yearlings more is not true, because I will. Because I can afford to then. When I have 10 or 15 3-year-olds, 10 or 15 2-year-olds and 30 yearlings, I can afford then to breed 50 or 60 young boards and have a go at half of them on the water as well, which is what I will do. But until I get to that point, you have to slow down. And that's our problem here in Ireland. Well, I certainly did. I grew up with the sprint mentality. Get them down the road, get them down the road, get them down the road, get them down the road. You have to get them. It doesn't work if you're going to try and mature your team for bigger races, because you'll only end up at most 1 or 2 4-year-olds, 1 or 2 3-year-olds, a handful of 2-year-olds, you know, and your yearlings that you're left with after the race team. That's what happens. That's how we do it. And believe me, it's not easy to stop racing them. It took me 2 years to get out of that. Get them down the road, get them down the road, get them. But you know what? For the first time in my life, this year I aimed pigeons at one race, poitiers. I didn't even think about the man, which was a month later. I aimed for poitiers. And that was my sole focus. And the build up to that race alone was phenomenal. I didn't clock out it, but you know what? That's not what this is always about. Fellas that try this get a kick in the teeth so many times in pigeon racing before there's actually a bit of success. And like I said, I'll change things I do first before I blame the pigeons. I know I have the pigeons here for it. I mean, 500 miles, 560 miles of poitiers is nothing compared to what these pigeons are doing. I mean, the pigeons I have here are children of 710 to 1,000 miles. Pigeons that have done those distances. So for me, they should well be able to do 500 miles with ease. Okay, so we're going to see how that goes. They've never encountered the Irish Sea, so that's a problem for the boards to conquer first. There's nothing I can do about that. That's where I live, and this is my aim. But it's going to happen. But for those of you out there that want to do this, take a step back, slow down. I actually really enjoyed this year's season, I have to say. The build up to poitiers was phenomenal. The actual eventually sending was brilliant. It really was. It was fantastic. And then to wait for 3 or 4 days here for my boards to come back, you know, it was disappointing, but it was also exciting. You know, I got a phone call yesterday. The gentleman, Tony Gaffney, that sent boards to poitiers as well, actually got one on the loft yesterday. How it arrived time, we don't know. He said it was full of oil. It got home. Whether one of the lads brought it across the sea, whether it made it itself, it doesn't matter. He has it there for next year. I'd love for one of mine to land on the loft right now. I'd absolutely love it. It'd be fantastic. But we'll wait and see about that. Okay? So I would encourage everybody to have a go at this. But if you are going to have a go at this, I'd encourage you to slow down. You do have to stop and think about how we race pigeons in Ireland. Because to race the longer races, it's just not going to work. Some fellas in the UK race their young boards out their young board program up to 200, 200 miles, whatever it is. Other fellas don't race them at all. One of the biggest problems I've encountered is that the real one thing in common is they all get a good 8 or 9 hour fly under their boards 3 to 4 weeks prior to a very big race, a 600 mile or whatever. I can't do that here in Ireland, bar send them to the UK or France, and I'm not prepared to do that to lose them. So I have to think of an alternative. What's the alternative? I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to work on it and I'm going to figure it out, because this is where I'm going to go with these boards. So it's just a case of seeing what happens. Okay, so I'm going to finish on this thought. I'd encourage everybody in Ireland to have a go at the international scene. It doesn't matter whether you're young or old. Set your plans in motion and roll with whatever happens. I set my plans in motion, I roll with the changes, I make decisions on the go. It's what you have to do. Okay, and I'm sure most of the other fellas on the big scene are there as well. They set everything in motion. It doesn't always work out. You have to change it whatever happens. You can do it as well. We all can. Okay? So yeah, so there we go. So I hope this was a bit informative. I hope it might inspire a couple of other guys to slow down. And to be honest with you, actually, my personal situation with a young family, this really suits. I'm not rolling to the club every week. I'm not running down the road trading boards every week, every day. And I just relax and I watch them flying 2 hours a night. They're flying, my young birds are flying 2 hours a night, like, and they're only May-born young birds, most of them. April, May, the first round would be. So yeah, so there we go. Have a good race day. Chat soon.